So in this video, I want to show you a really simple example of using a while loop. And it is going to be a lot like what your week 2 assignment was for. And so what I want to do is, let's start with some requirements here. We want to write a really simple program. And the requirements are that we want to ask the user how many numbers they would want to add. And then, using a while loop, collect that number of numbers from the user, keeping a running total, and then display the total at the end of the program. Okay, so hopefully that's kind of simple for you. So when I do this, I like to start by, first of all, by the way, I would say that it doesn't hurt for you to take the assignment and to rewrite it in words that make sense to you as requirements like this. You can include it in the assignment you submit to me. You don't have to. You can just keep it yourself, kind of like on a scratch piece of paper or whatever. The other thing that I highly, highly recommend is that you then think through the steps that you're going to need to take to be able to accomplish this set of requirements. Now, these steps are, the reason why I like you to start here is it allows you to kind of think through the steps without having to worry about how you're going to write them down, how you're going to put them in pseudocode, or if you're doing this in some other language, how you would implement them in whatever the language is. So, thinking about this a little bit, and taking the really kind of peeling out the steps from the requirements, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask the user how many numbers to add. Let's just say, and store that number. Okay. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to loop through the number of times specified. And then I'm going to put down here, we're going to end the loop. Within the loop, we're going to ask the user for a number to add, and we're going to keep a running total. Okay? And then once we're done with the loop here, we're going to show the total. Okay? So these are the steps. Again, I'm not worried about the syntax in any way. I'm not really thinking like a computer a lot here, right? I'm just kind of logically thinking through the steps. When we get to the pseudocode, we have to start thinking like a computer does, okay? All right, so let's then go from these steps into the pseudocode. Now, the first thing that I like to think about when I'm trying to work through a program and write it down is, what are the variables here? Now, if you remember, a variable is it's kind of like a post office box that we can open up and we can put something in. And in this case, it'll probably always be a number. We're going to put a number in there and we're going to store it for later, so we can, when we want to, we can go back again and we can get something out of there. Okay. So for sure, I'm going to need to know that number of numbers. We've asked the user how many numbers they want to add. So in pseudocode, we declare and that we put the type. An integer is just a number that doesn't have a decimal point. declare a number, and let's call it how many numbers. How many numbers? So how many numbers is the name of our variable. That's our post office box we're going to store something in. Okay. The next integer is the total. We need to keep track of the total number of numbers as we accumulate them. I'm just going to start by setting it to 0 here. Okay. We're going to ask the user for how many numbers, but we're not going to ask him for the total. We're going to start with 0, and then we're going to accumulate a running total. Okay. All right. So we'll come back to another variable or two as we go here, but we'll get started with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to prompt the user, how many numbers do you want to add? Okay. I'm going to prompt the user for that. And then I use this input keyword to collect from the user the value that they're going to type in. So it collects it from the keyboard. How many numbers? Now notice that this variable right here corresponds with this that we've declared. Basically what we're doing here is collecting the value of it from what the user types from the keyboard, and then we're going to put it in the post office box, or the variable, how many numbers. Okay. So now we've got it stored. Now we're ready for the next set of our step here, which is to loop through this loop. And each time that we go through the loop, we're going to ask the user for a number to add, and we're going to keep a running total. Okay. Now in the assignment, it's going to want us to do the requirements. It wants us to use a while loop. So we'll have a while, and then down here somewhere we'll have an end while, which is the end of the loop. Okay. Now within a while loop, we need a logical statement that determines how many times we go through it. Well, we want to go through the loop as many times as the user has specified how many numbers they want. So if they specified they wanted to go through this 5 times, they wanted to add 5 numbers together, we're going to ask the user 5 times for a number. Okay? So if this is 5, the number of times through the loop is going to be 5. Okay? But so we need to create a logical expression here, and we know that part of that is going to be this variable, how many numbers. But we need to then keep track of how many times we go through the loop so that we can test whether we're done going through it. And so I'm going to actually declare another variable here. Declare, if I spell it right, an integer, and we're going to call it count. And we're going to set it at 0. And then every time we go through the loop, we're going to add 1 to count. So the first time it'll start at 0, the next time it'll be 1, the next time 2, the next time 3, and the next time 4. Okay, but what we're going to check here is whether we're going to keep doing the loop while count is less than this number that we've asked the user for. Okay. Now, if we did this part here, all of this, but we didn't do this, then this loop would just run forever. We don't really want that. So here this allows us to do it. Okay. So inside of our loop now, we've got to ask the user for the number that we're going to add. Okay. I'm actually going to collect that number, but I'm going to declare it right inside the loop here. Declare integer number to add. Okay. Then I'm going to prompt the user and use my input number to add. So we're going to collect it from the keyboard, store it in the variable, Okay. By the way, in pseudocode, we put a set before any of these. We're going to have another one right here because the next thing we want to do, if I look at my steps, is keep a running total. Okay. So we'll do a set total equal to total plus number to add. Okay. And then at the very end of my pseudocode here, I'm going to display the total of numbers is total. Okay. So one thing that I like to do when I'm writing a program is do a desk check. Let's make sure my logic is right. Okay. And so I'm going to provide some output over here. And I'm going to go through this like a computer would, one line at a time. Okay, so it's going to start here, declare this integer. Okay, it's not going to have any output, but it creates the variable. It's going to declare the total integer variable, and it's going to set it at 0. Again, no output, but it's dealing with a variable. So the first output we're going to see is this one: how many numbers do you want to add? Okay. And it's going to prompt me here, okay? And let's say that me as the user, I type in a 5. This is the prompt me part, by the way, right here, okay? I type in a 5 and I hit enter. Okay, now it's going to come down here. I'm declaring another variable. It's creating a memory place in memory for count and setting it to 0. And now we go through our while loop. Okay, we're going to check, is count less than 5? Is 0 less than 5? It is. So we're going to go into the loop. We're creating a new variable for this number to add. And then the next prompt that we see is enter a number to add. And it's going to prompt me here, and then it's going to wait because I've got an input, so it's going to wait for me to type something. I'm going to type in a 1. Okay. Comes down here, calculates the total. Okay, so right now total started at 0, so 0 equals 0 plus 1, which is what I typed here, so the total equals 1. Count equals count plus 1, so it was 0 because we're the first time through, so 0 equals 0 plus 1, so count is also 1. We come back up to while, so we got 1 is less than 5, because 5 is, again, is what we typed as the user. Okay, we're going to keep going through again. We go through here, and we get enter a number to add. Let's say me as a user, I'm going to hit 2. Boom. Okay. Comes down here again. Now we say, because this started with 1, 1 plus 2 equals 3. So total now equals 3. Count, which was a 1, plus 1 equals 2. So count equals 2. So we come back up here again to while. So this is 2 is less than 5. So we go at it again. Enter a number to add. 3 I'm going to type this time. Okay. So we come down here. So this started at 2. No, sorry, started at 3. So now we got 3 plus 3. So that's 6. Okay. So total equals 6 now. Count, we add 1. So count equals 3. Come back through here, and 3 is less than 5, so we go back into the loop one more time. Enter a number to add. It's what the output will be. I'm going to say 4 this time. Okay, so total starts out at 6, right? Plus 4, because I just entered 4. That's 10. Count now is 4, because we added 1 to it. Come back around here. 4 is less than 5. So we go back into the loop one more time. Enter a number to add. I'm going to type 5. Boom. Okay, now we come back here. So this was 10. So 10 plus 5 is 15. Count, we just added 1 again. So this is 5 this time. We come back up to the while. While 5 is less than 5, well, 5 is not less than 5. It's equal to it. Okay? So it drops out of the loop and down to this next item where it says the total of the numbers is 15. And our program is complete. So I would strongly encourage you to go through that exercise that I just did with the output, in addition to the pre-work of writing the requirements in your own words and putting the steps down without thinking about the pseudocode or the format or the syntax. Okay, and that will help you. If you can do those things, it's going to help you to have a quality set of pseudocode. And you may find that when you go through your code and you go through this desk check with the output, that you find these little logic errors that don't make any sense, and it'll help you to improve the quality of your pseudocode. So hopefully this will help you.